Chomripsur, Luxray, Lukpro, Bompaon Teng Ah, Som Svakum. Welcome everybody for the Center for Khmer Studies webinar on this Thursday night here in the US and on Friday morning in Cambodia. CKS is a nonprofit that aims to enhance and build knowledge and understanding of Cambodia and Southeast Asia through supporting research and learning in Cambodia and abroad in the fields of the social sciences, humanities, and the arts. My name is Eve Zucker. I am currently a lecturer in anthropology at Yale University, and I'm also the president of CKS. And I will be the chair of this panel today. So I'm really delighted to be with you, and this is going to be a really exciting panel on a very important topic. And in fact, it's a topic that's been on everybody's mind pretty much that works in Southeast Asia this week because of, as many of you know, there was the petition that went out to save the South and Southeast Asia Library at UC Berkeley. And fortunately, it was effective and advocacy worked, and now they are going to keep it open, which is great news. So today we're going to be talking about digital libraries and digital resources as they pertain to Southeast Asian studies generally, and also to Cambodia more specifically. Before I introduce our guests though, I would like to first let you all know that today's event will be recorded. So if you don't wish to be seen or you don't wish your if you don't wish your comment to be heard, then don't make a comment, basically. But you can also choose to say if you don't want your name mentioned if you have a question at the end. So that's one thing. The other thing to say about comments and questions is if you would like to pose a question, please put it in the Q&A box if you are on Zoom. If you are on Facebook Live, then you can put it in the comments in the chat there, and somebody Sung, our head of program, she will help send it over to me so I can see it. We will, if we have many questions, I may be combining some questions together if they're on the same topic, and we ask that you just please be patient. So today's event, the order of today's event will be as follows. We'll have each panelist give their presentation, and in between I may ask a question or two, depending. And then as we finish all the presentations, there will be an opportunity for everybody to ask questions before we finish up for the night. So let me begin by introducing our panelists. Our first panelist is Emily Zinger. Emily serves as the Southeast Asian Digital Librarian for the Committee on Research Materials on Southeast Asia. Based at Cornell University, Emily helps manage the Southeast Asian Digital Library, a digital library that is shared by the Committee on Research Materials on Southeast Asia institutional members. Emily has a master's degree of Library and Information Science degree from McGill University, as well as 2 bachelor's degrees, one in English and another in psychology, both from the College of William and Mary. Our second panelist today will be our head librarian, Sivling Chor. She's in charge of managing and directing all aspects and activities connected to the library at CKS. Sivling joined CKS in 2012 and has since managed the library's various collections while providing technical support to a variety of partner institutions. Before joining CKS, Sivling served for 12 years as a technical staff member overseeing the library section of Apsara Authority's Angkor Research and Documentation Center. Our third panelist today is TJ Rukowski. TJ is a CKS board member, and he also chairs our communications committee. He is an experienced leader in the tech, marketing, and business sectors. He is currently a partner at St. Luna, a spirit startup, and formerly was head of operations at Tech for Campaigns. TJ has also served in several top global companies, including Fidelity Investments, Citibank, TIAA, and TE Connectivity. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from Lehigh University and an MBA from Northeastern University. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over now to Emily.
All right, thank you for that introduction, Eve. Let me just pull up my slides here. All right, so hello everyone, I'm Emily, Emily Zinger. I'm the Digital Librarian for the Southeast Asia Digital Library. And today I'm going to show you some of our highlights and just walk you through our collections. I want to preface my talk today with a bit about the importance of digitization. So one thing I think we've all learned this past year is the importance of quality access to materials online. But this is even more true for rare materials in area studies. The items in SEADL are one of a kind. They exist in one copy and in one place. And when that place happens to be the United States, it can become extremely difficult, if not impossible, for users in Southeast Asia to view and study those materials. And so SEADL is one answer to this situation. As a platform for digital repatriation, SEADL offers easy access to rare, historic, and unique materials from Southeast Asia to users in Southeast Asia. Now, the reverse is also true. Some of our projects involve digitizing items that exist only in rural villages that were inaccessible to nearly all scholars, regardless of where they were, before we made them accessible online. And we have over 20 collections, 3 of which are distinctly Cambodian, and we're going to look closer at those later. The others are from every country in the region excepting Brunei, and we have everything from ancient palm leaf manuscripts to contemporary television shows. We have photographs, oral histories, manuscripts, transcribed newspapers, maps, just this wealth of information and resources that you can't find anywhere else on the internet. But one thing that makes SEADL really unique beyond its collections, of course, is that it's a shared library. So SEADL is cooperatively managed by a consortium of 17 institutions in the United States, including Northern Illinois University, which hosts the website online, the Library of Congress, and other universities like Cornell, where I work. Together, these institutions make up Cormosia. And Cormosia is able to support SEADL in a way that would be very difficult to achieve for one institution alone. We combine language expertise, subject knowledge, resources, and international connections to identify and describe collections from around the world that can benefit from the increased access of digitization. Now, I titled this presentation, The Southeast Asia Digital Library and You. So let's talk a little bit more about where you come in. It's my greatest wish that our items are used, right? That's why we've put so much time and effort and resources into putting them online. But more specifically, I hope for them to be used by you and your colleagues and friends in Cambodia. Last year, SEADL had about 29,000 users, but only 290 of those users were from Cambodia. That's just 1%. So that says to me there's a lot of work left to be done to ensure that our rich collections are found and used not just by researchers in the United States, but by the communities in Cambodia from which these items originated in the first place. Our items have been cited in academic journals and scholarly papers, but that's just one way that they can be used. Rare materials such as ours can inspire art. They can help you learn and practice a language. They can be used to research family histories, as teaching tools for younger students. They can also just simply be browsed for enjoyment. You don't have to be a university researcher to engage with rare and special collections. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those collections. Let me just bring up our website quickly. All right, so you should now be looking at our homepage. There are 3 areas I just want to quickly point out here. And these are the access points that can allow you to dive into our collections, even if you don't know quite what you're searching for yet. So the first is format. This can let you limit by just items of a specific kind, like those I mentioned earlier. Under region or country, you can drill down just onto items from one place. If you click on SEADL materials, here you have it, all 3,358 items in our library that are from or about Cambodia. And lastly, you can look at items in a specific digitization project, and this is where we're going to spend some time today. So let's start with the May Abihara Collection. This collection features over 1,000 photographs, including the ones from my PowerPoint slides, from the work of a cultural anthropologist, Dr. May Abihara. And they show life in rural Cambodia from 1959 to 60, and also from the 1990s. And it's an especially important collection since the Khmer Rouge destroyed many of the photographic collections that depicted social and cultural Cambodian histories. So here in this collection, you can see images of daily life, local architecture like this dormitory, as well as temples and schools and houses. And you can also see portraits of the people who lived in these rural communities. And I also want to point out that if you scroll down past any item in our library, you will find a bunch of contextual information about that item. So you can see here we have title, we have associated places, and also importantly, under usage conditions, the institutions that you would need to contact if you wanted to reproduce our items. In other collections here, we have dates, descriptions, transcribed text from the item. All of this adds context to make our items easier to understand, to use, and to search for in the future. Now, the second collection we're going to look at today is the Living Memory of the Khmer. This collection has 12 interviews from elders about their personal experiences from the fight for independence from France in the 40s and 50s through to their struggle to reconcile their country following the atrocities of the Khmer Rouge regime in the 80s and 90s. And oral histories like these are extremely valuable sources of information because they share the kinds of personal stories and experiences that aren't necessarily included in other more traditional forms of information. So we're going to watch this excerpt quickly from an interview with Ham Horn. He was a temple committee member in Siem Reap and was one of the few monks allowed to continue monkhood under the Khmer Rouge.
ខែធ្នូសំទោសបាទ21ខែធ្នូឆ្នាំ75អស់លោកពិវត្តពពបាទហ្នឹងបាយភ្នំពេញថ្ងៃ17មេសាហ្នឹងបានខែ5ខែ6ខែ7ខែ8ខែ9ខែ10 11 12ត្រូវអស់លោកពីស្រុកស្អាងហ្នឹងបានបន្តដល់ខែធ្នូហ្នឹងគេដេញសឹកអស់ហ្មងហើយក្រៅពីវត្តនោះសឹកអស់មុនហ្នឹងហើយ
You can see that these videos are recorded in Khmer, but also include English translation subtitles to make the collection even more accessible to a number of different kinds of scholars. I don't have time to show you the whole video tonight, but I encourage you to check it out on your own after this webinar. Now, the last collection I'm going to show you, our third Cambodian collection, is Then and Now Historical Photographs of Cambodia. And I have to admit, I saved this one for last because it's one of my personal favorites. It combines photographs from 2007 with those from the 1950s and 60s to create a gallery of over 2,000 images that show how Cambodia has changed and grown over the decades. So for example, here you have the National Assembly building in Phnom Penh, as it was in 2007, used for housing the Supreme Court. And then that exact same view from decades before. On the steps in front of this photograph, you can see a number of Cambodian officials, including Sihanouk, as they wait for an official signing ceremony to begin. Here you have the Central Marketplace in Phnom Penh, again from 2007. And then here we have, again, almost an identical photograph, but from decades before. Now you can see the streets empty of cars. Like I said, this is one of my favorite collections. We could spend hours looking at these fascinating comparisons. But there are a few more things I want to show you before I run out of time. You've seen our Cambodian collections, but I want to share some images from other regions and other countries just to demonstrate the kinds of projects that we're interested in, the kinds of things that we collect that could serve as models for future Cambodian projects. So here we have Don V. Hart manuscripts from the collection of the same name at the University of Northern Illinois University, excuse me. This manuscript in particular is about the powers and vulnerabilities of children at certain critical ages. And I chose it to share with you because of just these fantastic illustrations. Another really unique collection that we have is the Digital Archive of Buddhist Murals and Cloth Paintings in Thailand. So these are photographs of the artwork on the walls of temples depicting religious stories and scenes. We actually have a similar collection of temple murals from Laos, and after some of those temples were destroyed, demolished in the early 2000s, I believe that our collection became the only comprehensive visual archive of that artwork. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of this kind of work for cultural heritage preservation. And lastly, I want to share with you the Mandalay Marionettes Theater Puppet Show. So when you're working in a digital space, you can think outside the box as to what counts as a library item. We're not limited to books and manuscripts and other traditional forms, although we have all of those in our collections too. But we can also include instances of more intangible culture. So just like we digitize a physical manuscript that exists in only one place, we can also record ceremonies or performances or events that exist in only one time. So here we're going to watch a quick excerpt from this puppet dance, and it features two royal pages who are joking and teasing with each other. Now, it was very difficult for me to choose which collections to share with you in the short amount of time, but I couldn't leave the webinar without sharing some of that charming performance. So now you've seen our highlights. I encourage you to continue exploring our collections and allow them to inform your work and your studies. And please share this resource with others who might not be here today, who you think could learn or benefit from what we have on the internet. And lastly, we're actively looking for partners in the region to collaborate with on future digital projects. Putting material online breaks down geographical barriers and provides visual access to users around the world. It's an excellent way of promoting and sharing Cambodian culture and history and materials internationally. And so I can never make promises about available funding, but please email me if you know of a physical collection that could benefit from digitization, or if you have any other ideas for collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. That's all very exciting stuff, and what fabulous collections. You know, it would be hard not to get lost in that for hours and hours, I would imagine. So yeah, I don't want to take too much time between the presentations, but just a couple of things that maybe if later on you can talk a little bit more about how people can use these types of collections maybe in their research a little bit, how people have in the past. It seems like they can be applied to all kinds of uses, whether it's somebody doing something like their dissertation research, or if it's somebody, you know, a student doing a class project, or, you know, potentially a teacher or a professor who can use some of these materials in their class to as they're studying something about Southeast Asia or Cambodia in particular. One thing I wanted to bring up, I love those May Abihara photos, and they're so important, like you mentioned, and they have a very close place. They're very close to my heart. I used her work extensively in my own research. And I just wanted to let everybody know that her dissertation from, from 1959, 1960 has now been published into a book by Cornell Press, and with the editor was Andy Mertha, our former president. Here's the book, and there's an introduction by Judy Ledgerwood. And the exciting part not only is to have this book now, but also the fact that CKS is currently translating it into Khmer. So it should be available. I'm not sure exactly when, but hopefully not too long from now. So yes, thank you very much. I think we'll move ahead now on to our head librarian, Sivling Chor, who is going to talk to us today a little bit about the collections at the CKS Library.
Good morning from Cambodia. My name is Sivling. I'm a head librarian at the CKS Library. Today, I'm very excited to be here to share about CKS collection facility and how to make use of its collection. Yeah. CKS Library located in broaden, Zinger province, Cambodia. We were founded in 2001 with the aim of promoting a cultural reading in the community and support the research and public service by providing facility and service for teaching community and students to discover needed information and use them according to their needs. This purpose is to respond to the lack of educational resource in Cambodia community during the period. Following decade of civil war, the target destruction of its educational resource, Cambodia faced a crisis in the preservation and its literary heritage. In this context, where access to books was almost non-existent in Cambodia, CKS began to develop our collection, specializing in Cambodia and Southeast Asian history, culture, and social science. Since its opening, our collection has grown from a few hundred to 20,000. Our library has a rich collection of resources and various branches of knowledge specializing in Southeast Asian regional history, social science, art, linguistics, and other subjects. This collection has distinguished in a different formats such as printed material, newspaper, map, electronic resource, video, audio, and photography. All our collections are housed in two separate buildings. The upper building we call reading room. This building is used as a reading place for the public. It contains a various subjects on Southeast Asia resource in Khmer, English, and French language. Part of the building is also used as a reading room for the children from 8 to 12 years old. We have around 500 children booked there. This is one of our goals to promote the reading to our community from the young age. The lower building we call research library, where almost material are stored here, such as book, journal, maps, dissertation, newspaper, and so on. Every day, our library building and its campus are used as a ground meet among the students, researchers, and scholars who seek for a quiet place for their study and research. Totally over 20,000 printed material has collected. That include almost 20,000 printed books and rare collection. This rare material is a special French collection in Indochina during the French protectorate since the late 19th to the first mid-20th century. And around 100 of Southeast Asia research journals and magazines are available here. The oldest journal publication is a French journal, the Bulletin de École Française d'Extrême-Orient, that are available from volume 1 published in 1901. Nowadays, this full collection are available online on Parcourir les collections website. Then followed by the Cambodia, the Cambodian earliest academic journal, published in its first run between 1926 and 1925. Cambodia resumed publication in 94 and ever since now. It's really complete. It's nearly complete collection available at CKS Library and made available online by the Buddhist Institute. Moreover, another 200 PhD dissertation, MA thesis, and research paper from CKS Fellow, affiliate, and other source scholars are also available on our collection as well. Here is an inside view from our research collection, where with the collection of printed book, journal, and rare book. We also collect some local newspaper. We have 6 local newspaper here in Khmer, English, and French language. The oldest was collected since 1998. All these materials are stored at the second floor of our library and classifying by its title and date. To date, some of these newspapers has stopped their publishing and made available online. Around 100 maps of Southeast Asian geography, administration, archaeology are available in our map desk in the research library as well. To make more resources accessible in our user, CKS Library has subscribed to JSTOR, a digital library or academic journal, book, and primary resource. Our library can freely access at CKS Libraries computer. Also, there are virtual access for our affiliate and follow. And recently, we have registered to Research for Life, an online academic and professional peer review website. Our user can access to this scientific and professional resource through its 5 programs on health, agriculture, environment, innovation, and global justice. This website can be freely accessed on CKS Library's computer only. CKS Library also can access in person at our public computer a digitized collection of John Echo from Cornell University. It's a special collection on Cambodia since late 19th century. Over 300 dissertations and theses from overseas universities are available both physical and digital at the library also. Apart from this, the researcher seeking photographs and administration documents related to Siem during Cambodia's UNTAC period between 1992 to 93 can contact to CKS Librarian for access to many video no collection. Another 100 of research papers from CKS Research Fellow in electronic format are available on our library's computer, and some full articles are linked to our online catalog already. Yeah. Our user can freely access a computer installed with a Cambodian traditional music, which are almost forgotten and gradually lost. There are almost 1,000 digitized photo, audio, and video about music instrument and music traditional in Cambodia. CKS Library would like to thank to the Cambodian Living Art for preserving and compiling this work, as well as for donating it to our library for public use. Another video and audio for those who desire to learn about history and Khmer Rouge during the period 1975 to 1979 can use a tablet in our living room or can download to your mobile phone or computer. Also, we would like to send to Bopana Audio Visual Reserve Center for their effort to compile this historic document. So to know To know more about our CKS material, please visit our CKS library online catalog through CKS website, then click on the library tab and go through our online catalog. You will find all more material in our library. Or for those who come to our library in person, please register to library logbook and show your CKS member card if you have one. No more plastics. Our books are not lent out to the general user, but they can read and make some photocopy of at CKS library. Assistant library can help with this. For those who are CKS affiliate, fellow partner can check out our books 3 per time and keep them for 2 weeks. In addition, we also have an interlibrary loan with 3 institutional and university libraries where they can check out each other the book required by each user. Other than its own collection, CKS library has connected to other open resource website on our library page, and we still keep going to connect to other open resource to make our research more accessible for our user. There are, we just categorize in 3 languages, some in Khmer, in English, and in French, and we still continuing to link to other, link to for our user, And our library open to the public and free of charge. We open from Monday to Saturday. If you have any question about our library resource, please contact to library at Khmer Study or follow our latest activity by Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sibling. That was wonderful. Just a couple things. First of all, a message to all of our guests. We will be doing the Q&A, the questions after all the presentations. So if you could just hang on, and if you are on the Zoom call, if you can put those questions in the Q&A box, that would be very helpful so that we don't miss them, so they don't end up buried in the chat. That would be great. And for the questions coming from Facebook Live, we'll try to transfer those over. I just wanted to say a couple more things with the library. The library at CKS is absolutely phenomenal. It's a wonderful resource. It's in a beautiful location. It's one of the most relaxing places you can imagine to visit. Unfortunately, it's closed just right at this moment due to COVID, but hopefully we'll be reopening very soon. But in the meantime, as you can see, there's extensive digital resources available, and that's really exciting. I mean, it really wasn't the case a few years ago that you could access so many documents and so many, you know, whether it's an ancient manuscript of some sort, or whether it's a dissertation or a research paper. It's wonderful because it really doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can access that. So please reach out to CKS and to the library if you have additional questions of how to visit or how to access some of those resources. Let's turn now to TJ Rakowski, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about the Koha transition today with the library, which is quite exciting. So TJ, why don't you begin?
Thank you very much. My topic is sort of timely since the library is physically closed. I will talk today about our online catalog and the process that we are going through right now of relaunching it. To achieve our mission at CKS, our library, our books, our printed materials need to be organized and accessible for all of our visitors. As Sibling mentioned just now, we have more than 20,000 printed materials. Our items specialize in Southeast Asian history, social sciences, art, linguistics, and many other topics. Most of our online catalog is available today due to a lot of hard work and organization over the past years by Sibling and other librarians at CKS. However, the actual catalog, the software that organizes our collection is becoming outdated. So in the past couple years, we've had our online catalog, and we've noticed that it's been expanding in use. We have more than 120,000 people who have looked at books and records in our catalog in 2020. We've had 110 countries represented by those people. I think we're actually at 113 different countries visitors from different countries who have looked at books in our catalog. And most of those people, 67%, have looked at our catalog from online phones or from their mobile phones. So we know that there is a demand and a need to find information about Cambodia by people around the globe. Some of the things that we want to do by upgrading our catalog are really improving the ability to find the material in our library. That includes finding the actual books and the articles that we have in the library, and also making it more available to different types of visitors. Upgrading our catalog will enable us to put our data better into Google as a search engine. It also lets us connect to other digital libraries so that you may be able to search at your local university and find books in our catalog and know how to get access to them. Upgrading our library also, it's very important to make sure that it's easy to use. I mentioned that 67% of our visitors come on mobile phones. We have to make sure that our current visibility and accessibility works on those devices, both for our visitors and for our librarians as well. The third major factor that we're looking at as we upgrade is looking for modern technology. We want to make sure that our catalog is secure. If people are logging in to check out books or to request materials, they're able to do it with secure and private capabilities. We need to make sure that our software is actively maintained. Our current catalog, as I mentioned, is getting outdated, and the underlying software hasn't been updated in nearly 5 years. And the third main part of technology is that we have readily available support. Thinking about these factors, we did a lot of research talking to online librarians, looking at technical guides. And I mentioned librarytechnology.org as one of those tools. If anybody is a library or library technology junkie, perhaps, that is a site where you'll find a lot of information, including a list of all the libraries and online catalog migrations that are taking place every year. We also spoke with many library software consultants. All of our research pointed us towards a package called Koha. Koha is an open source library system. It's open source, meaning it is free software available for any library to use. It's a fully featured platform that's currently in use by more than 3,700 libraries around the world. It offers powerful search and content tools, integrating content automation from Google, Amazon, open library initiatives, and other sources. It provides library standards, including the MARC compliance, Unimark compliance, and other protocols. It's web-based so that anybody can use it easily anywhere in the world, whether you are the librarian administering it or a visitor looking up content. It's currently available in 26 different languages. Khmer is unfortunately not one of the languages it's translated to, but as an open source project, if we choose to start translating some of the library tools, we can share that with other libraries. And as I mentioned, is a free software package. It's open sourced and supported by a community of global developers. Koha-community.org is their URL if you're interested in learning more about the software. Once we found the software, we still needed to figure out how to install it. Fortunately, over the past year, we met an an organization called Equinox Open Library Initiative. This is a company that runs as a nonprofit. They're based in the US, and they offer a grant where they will convert library catalogs at their expense. CKS applied for the grant last year, and we were graciously awarded this opportunity and have started down the path with Equinox to install our Koha servers. Our Equinox will help us migrate all of our catalog data from our current system to the new Koha system. They will train all of our staff on how to use the catalog software, and they will support it by hosting it and maintaining it for years to come. It's a very generous grant and wonderful opportunity that we're able to take advantage of. The last thing I will mention, our catalog is currently available. We have one that's out there, but our new Koha catalog will be coming in July. Just a little look under the covers. We're currently in our planning stage. We will be mapping our data next month, working on some of the technical policies after that, testing and training testing the system in June and launching it in July. And that is the update I would like to share. Som Akun, thank you very much for listening and participating today. Eve?
Thank you very much, TJ. That's really exciting news, actually, that we got that grant. And TJ, thank you for all your hard work in moving us in that direction. I mean, ultimately, not only the linking of databases, library databases, so that you can see in what's each other's libraries, but also being able to access various documents and artifacts and so forth is really exciting. A lot of that is happening with all kinds of archives using sounds like to me a variety of different systems, but it'll be interesting to see how it progresses. And I'm very excited about it, as I'm sure you are all as well. So I've seen that there's been a few questions. So I thought we could start with the questions. So starting at I think the first question that came in a while ago, actually, so I assume that this was first directed towards Emily. The question was, how do you obtain the artwork from the past? So I assume this is the artwork that you had on one of those, in one of those collections.
I'm the digital librarian for this library, so I help run a lot of the logistics on the front end, but I really rely on a network of scholars and selectors through Cormosia, other librarians who have deep subject knowledge of Southeast Asia studies, and they're the ones who are able to do research to find collections in Southeast Asia or in their own libraries, and then we work together oftentimes with partners in the region, other scholars in the region, to complete a digitization project. So how we find the exact collections, it's a different story in every case. A lot of the time it's people who are aware of the landscape of Southeast Asia studies resources and then are thereby able to identify a potential collection.
Okay, great, thanks. The next question that came in also has to do with photos, and I'm not entirely sure whether this was directed towards you, Emily, or siblings, so maybe you both want to give an answer to it. But they wanted to know what types of photo collections, what are the photos about? And I know there was quite a few photos covered, but if you could just say very briefly, what is in each of those collections again?
Sure. So for SEADL, we have the collection of cultural anthropology photographs, which I shared a bit of. And then we also have a number of more art history collections that are paintings of murals. In some cases, even panoramic shots that, give you almost when you scroll through them all, a sense of being there in these temples. We also have a collection called Virtual Southeast Asia that is images of architecture from around the region that we've geolocated on a map. So you can navigate that collection on a map interface. So it's lots of different kinds of collections. Some are historic, some are more contemporary, but lots of different subjects.
For CKS library, okay. For CKS library, our photo collection, we have only two kinds of this. We have Benny video no collection. The photo is about his activity, his work, and during his work in Siem Reap province during 1992 to 1993 when he was head of UNTAC in Siem Reap province. Yes, we have digitized his own photo. And another collection of photo is, as I said, we have about photo of activity and activity of the person who work with the traditional music in Cambodia. Yes, it's collected by Bukhana, by Cambodian Living Art, and they donated to us as digitized. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So a few more questions. A question from Helen Jarvis here. Hi, Helen. So one question was regarding this petition that was going around with Southeast Asian Library, South and Southeast Asian Library at Berkeley. And that was about the university was going to close the South and Southeast Asia Library and merge the collection with the general collection. And a petition went around and lots of people responded saying, you know, that would be a terrible thing to do. And it was effective. And so it's not happening, which is really fabulous news. I just heard that today. But if you just Google about it, you can learn more about it. There's also another question, what about the network of Southeast Asia librarians? I'll leave that to the panel to ask. Maybe Emily, actually, you should take that one.
Yeah, so the organization that I work for is called CORMOSIA, the Committee on Research Materials on Southeast Asia. And I've just put a link to the website in the chat. I'd be happy to talk to you more about that. Please feel free to send me an email, and I'll put my email in the chat as well if you have more questions about CORMOSIA.
Okay, great. So moving along here. So here's a question from, let's see, Khalid Grafton. We've been to the National Archives and other archives in Phnom Penh. Do you know where we can find a map of Phnom Penh between 1970 and 1975? And is there an archive that preserves historic negatives from the humidity and from the humidity that's there in Cambodia? Maybe Sibling, you should take that one.
Yes, I saw the question, and I'm still not know about how to find that map during that period. It's difficult period to find some material. I think even the National Archive in Cambodia, they didn't have that one. So I also said that CKS also, we have no collection of this map. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I think TJ had something to say about this too. TJ?
I don't think
so.
so.
I got a message here that says, okay, something went slightly awry here. Okay, no problem. Okay, so there's another question here about accessing, how do you deal with accessing a book or another document if it's published online? And what are the main challenges of managing the online library? Who would like to take that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I had some kittens trying to break into the presentation room, so briefly distracted.
I totally understand. My cat's trying to break in as well. Those pets. Okay, so it was asking basically what happens. So if somebody has something published online, like an online book or something like that, how does that work with the publisher? You know, I assume they're talking about copyright issues, I suppose. And then there's also a second part of the question, which is what are the main challenges of an online library?
So from the copyright perspective, the short answer is it's very complicated. We're an open library, so all of our material is open to use, and what that means is that we do extensive research for each project to make sure that there are no copyright restrictions. So if something is in the, it's in the public domain, or that we work with the original owners of the material to obtain the proper permissions to share it online. So it doesn't mean in every case that there's no copyright. It just means that we've worked to get the right permissions to work with copyright when necessary. And so it's very individual. Copyright laws vary by country. And so when you're dealing with a digital library that has items from all of these different countries, each case involves its own unique work on that end. And for challenges with the digital library, I think one of the biggest challenges is description. So similar to copyright, you're dealing with information and languages from lots of different countries. And so to be able to come up with a standardized way of describing items that makes them usable and findable online can be difficult. And again, that's where it really helps to work with partners in the region to get their expertise and their insight into how they talk about the subjects and the images depicted in our digital library, and then working with librarians on our end, such as myself, to translate that into a vocabulary that can meld with all of the other descriptions in our library. Yeah, so taking lots of different kinds of information and putting it all in one pot that works together seamlessly, I would say that's a challenge.
Okay, great. So we are a little low on time here, so I'm going to ask a few questions together. But first of all, I want to point out that thank you very much, Larry, for answering the question about the maps of where you could find maps in the that's in the chat for those people on the chat there. And yeah, moving along here. Let's see, there's a few questions about access to the CKS library and whether it's open now and so forth. As I mentioned before, it's currently closed due to COVID, but will open as soon as possible. So, and you can please reach out to the library directly also for more questions on library cards and those types of questions. There's some further questions here about to Emily about Creative Commons licenses, and there's sort of a connected question about the interaction between different Southeast Asia institutions such as galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. Emily, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the exact question about Creative Commons. I may have missed that, but I can talk about collaboration. So, I mean, collaboration with, GLAM institutions, it's really what Cormosia is all about. Like I said, there are all these benefits that come from working together with lots of different institutions, be it resources or shared knowledge. But I think another really important part of that I didn't mention in my presentation is aggregation. So being able to take similar items and putting them all in one place. So if Cormosia didn't exist, these digital collections might be at 17 different institutions, and a user might find one, but they would be unlikely maybe to find all of them, or if they did find all of them on the internet, it wouldn't be that easy to use them all together. And so working with other institutions has allowed us to take all these different collections and put them side by side so users can jump from one to the other very easily. Users can search across the whole. If it's an item from Cornell, if it's an item from the Lontar Foundation in Indonesia, if it's from Northern Illinois University, we're working together to take items from lots of different places and make things easier on the user by putting them together. I hope that answers the question. But I also add, if it wasn't clear already, Cormosia does partner directly with groups in Southeast Asia. So we don't just work with each other, we also work with independent organizations as well.
Okay, great. And here's a question from Larry Ashram. Great to know of the library's major update. Will users be able to request scans of material via interlibrary loan, both within Cambodia and from other countries? TJ or Sibling, would you like to try that one?
Sure. We do plan to turn on a request feature. Today, people often submit those requests through email or through the website. But in COHA, there is the capability to put in reserve requests for in-person book holds or interlibrary holds. So I think that our plan is to enable that capability. We're still learning as we go through, but it's a good question, Larry. Thank you.
Okay, I think this is going to be our last question of the night here from Hal Pan. How does CKS have access to OCLC and its records that are in OCLC? I'm not sure myself what OCLC is, but maybe you do, Sibling. You're smiling, so.
CKS have not been access to OCLC yet, I'm sure.
Okay, well, thank you. So, well, thank you, everyone. Just one last thing. I see that Helen wrote in the chat, Colin, Jim Tyler and his team have recreated some maps of Phnom Penh during DK. So I'll just leave that out there. And I would like to thank all our guests and our panelists. And also I would like to thank both Sungi Tree and Samadhi Sung for their behind the scenes help today. And I also want to let you know that our next webinar will be on April 23rd. That will be William Kwok. He's a PhD candidate at Yale University. And the title of his talk is The Organization and Implementation of Violence Under the Khmer Rouge. So for more information about that, you can find it then on our website or on social media, which will have the exact times and so forth and how to register for that. So thank you very much and have a good evening. Akunna. And
thank you very much.
Thank you.